Hello, dear Trevor Noah in the Daily Show in England, in America. See, the modern nations are and have been since semi-ancient times, since before modern religions, identities where in relationship to, for example, where and how all the individual identities of each person's body, like cells, organs, systems, they have, or what they call systems. No, the simultaneous nature relationship to our complete identity. Those complete identities are simultaneously individually grouped and together valued by and as the complete identity we are, that they are semi-nature relationship to. That simultaneously is a simultaneously, see how we have simultaneously a semi-nature, grouped areas, ages, sexes, identities of ages, no, areas, sexes. Now, this is in relationship to a pathology of human infrastructure, of zoning laws, of means to it, from a base already tactically denatured since modern nations' foundings, forced to self-evaluate everyone. In fact, treat me nature slaves. They put in overt color because of how a minority from every nation were taken to criminal collusion with criminal foreign influences of the very value of internation sciences. They tactically, methodically affected that self devalue by states and area sciences through times knowing they could develop the leverage to trick, force, hurt, persuade, maintain science's self-defended identities abridged from the course of our long words, from the course of the value of our long words, which is the identity of the correlation nature that discerns between what is positive and negative, what is positive value nature's progression, and the value of that. See, we have misprision criminality. We have quote unquote rules that are off the books. Oh, this because I know about how these people react. That's experience. You guys are preventing free speech. WFSB stole my free speech. Now these are recorded and confessed misprision identities of groups, uses of even the identities of each location of the ground, like WFSB, Fox Connecticut News, originally and still involved with what keeps, they pretend vetting and things like that. Those whole things are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated intercampuses of each age and of each nature, like fire campuses, medical campuses, at the same time kept needing to hide from all that is simple but just extensive. The identity of the long words, that which Native Americans were already forced parted from, forced only left like everyone, only capable of blaming the real causes, valuing the real causes of negative value nature act, progressions, acts, and natures blamed all other things other than themselves than real. And when really blaming on the right things, all roles keeping that forced, not hid what was it all really tied to it. Racketeering uses of killers by the same various natures, the courts putting them away. Of those bodies going to be spots involved with other natures of racketeering against each age of factory nature, the same clicks, originally and still criminally foreign influenced. There and here. You know how many nations has psychology involved with racketeering that Joseph Mengele was about? They still are involved with it. With evidence racketeering, fake recorded things in the databases. Those same interbranch fake judicial independence, because they're already racketeering uses of the campuses, of maintain training of military families, foreign and domestic, in collusion, uses of deans, uses of everyone speaking through others, having experts decide about the credibility of when people make reports, especially online. They have it. Facebook is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involve racketeering uses of the Facebook pages of New Britain Superior Court. These are also people involved, confessed and recorded intercities, connections between on-off school locations and the area locations, like Alina's Pizza, school down the street from it, house cross street from that school. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with courts that were criminally involved with such use of their ground. That's right around the courts from the corner from the judicial branch office. I mean, the state Congress offices also recorded, demonstrated, confessed, used to make people invested, to make opinions like about me, in collusion with fake recorded things in the databases. Totally. And everything other that's actually recorded, they're recorded having used truths as lies. And we can't tell American history if you're not talking about this fact-cheating nature racketeering, identity racketeering. See, we have free speech not only prevented, we have no counters to a bunch of natures of violence, including with guns, methods and roles with natures of gun crimes that are interbranch. Even with the groups associated with everyone's a victim. The forgiveness is about this with this ancient campus. That is the gaining value, positive or negative, of our republic unceasingly. This value revealed by the species working together before the identity of the species was taken to devalue roles with the long words of our species. And so with the value of our nature by its actual course. Knowing that nature would cause that, the semi-ancients, they knew that, they still remember, and they understand that nature will cause negative value, nature progressions, acts, and natures, and demonstration of it. They knew it would. They would. This is parts us from the method of causing evolution, which is being true to sequence, true to the inherent, the order of the finite, the inherent, which is two semi-natures of a complete nature that is also the identity of the active, the identity of the progressive nature of volume, and is the identity beyond that, while another way, like it is beyond what generated us from before us. One course is each, what it tells each thing, but in relationship to this. So we have a perfect world used with racketeering, also with forensics clicks, roles with uses of media, and of, for example, these are database clicks. These are relationships. Where everyone walks, those distances in relationship to databases. This is used originally and still to keep states and areas and to keep sciences all victims, only capable of fact-cheating nature. For example, relying upon the perfect world as a premise, as sequence racketeering rules, evidence racketeering rules with databases. See, all we need is mandated law. See, the identity of the pathology of human infrastructure on a mass scale, like in New York City, that is an identity that is individually grouped and all together. Everyone in those constructs recorded, forsaken. And we have people pretending to be about free business. That's because the rest of the world will still keep going as free business. But in other words, there was never free business. We had to have that identity self-valued. They knew that's what kept each identity the ground, self-valued, criminally foreign influence. All knaves, self-valued styles of liars now in relationship to nature's actual course. Is what is nature. This is the overall complete identity. The one that has us simultaneously each as an individual nature of volume, because individual finite's truth is simultaneous to sequence distinctly and non-distinctly, to what is active distinctly and non-distinctly, to what is progressive. This means what our values here are, and in other words, and more than that, we have identity racketeering that are organized crime countering bodies originally and still. Every modern nation can't defend themselves in relationship to private agreements, in relationship to the only allowed manifest counters, identities of counters to overtly sick. And the only reason we need that is like wars, overtly sick. I believe it was General Grant who said, there's no time, he doesn't see any time in history that war couldn't be prevented by words. See, but we have words originally still. We don't even have a loud told what really motivated all the roles as slaves, as our founders. You think they had no room for free speech even on a pigeon, and the extent of it. For example, the Native Americans, they had to be divided against each other since before our founders were born already, because they had a tactically denatured relation to nature itself to maintain, and they effectively maintained self-value. The real causes of that identity of the relationship to the value of the earth's identity of relationship to itself, which is the value of our fact-keeping nature, simultaneously, distinctly, and non-distinctly in relation to the ground, because the identity of one simultaneous nature is a demonstration to us per science. That algebra is revealed to be to teach, for example, by proper scientific method and evidence reception per correlation and sequence true. You see criminally foreign influenced evidence reception. Natures of science is abridged, and that's because those were fit to be self-valuing styles of lives, fake sides with strangers. We have the identities of the ground. We have the identity of each age of fact-keeping nature forsaken. Lie progressions, fake care, and evil justice, pretending it's other, juxtaposed all kinds of misprision, already other natures, motivations of hurt focused on New York City. Every nature of city, including suburbs, sickly distinctly, to keep how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. That's why it is more and more value the simple truth of the reality of how individually grouped and all together everyone is forsaken, and everyone is a fake care counter role. Everyone is a fake righteous and justice aggression, fake counter to gun crime roles, gun crime furtherance. These are each fact keeping nature value was seized before our founders' births and through their lives. They were fact keeping nature slaves. And they want, and the only way that is true, that is not true anymore, is when you can explain that and how George Washington did not chop down fake government and database racketeering tied roles. Again, already invested roles with all the area from those spots in layers of other motivations, natures, needs, interests, styles, other than what really kept and keeps everyone doing and hiding evil they really shouldn't, and preventing free speech. And so in other words, they're stacking data. This is worse. But we must solve worse. We have mandated law. If you ask for help to have psychology, they'll forge names and switch names. Because if you see, like I saw the person, there's children, there's a whole bunch of natures of racketeering with police forms. but it's with actual methods of actual crime acts and cases tied to a proven sequence shift in the Ninth Circuit. Post-dated documents shown to appear late from inside the court, proven right before the Trade Center attack. That had been shown to panel judges in the Ninth Circuit, which is right next to it. The same people are involved with sequence racketeering, falsified police reports, faking recorded things into databases, uses of their family members. And then when they're denying that, they're also recorded roles with stacking names of strangers against other people, and then valuing their uses on influences over all the misprision, all the identities of the ground. So now where people gather around, they have maintained roles, criminally foreign influence, or you're hurting worse. And not one has free speech. They pretend that, in other words, they have people walk by you and they pretend they know you down the road. People interbranch with their family members. They invest that because they have disputes in relationship to private agreements that are valued only because they're counter to overtly sick, like nuclear weapons. All that tied to forcing us to go into space. Leaves of Hadiths. Value nature's there. We have it forsaken here. They have the identity of England. They have the identity of America. They have the identity of each modern nation involved with a racketeering method that knew and kept already propagated a whole bunch of styles of fake righteousness, fake practicality, fake maturity, fake worth of maturity. Everything is unceasingly positive or negative onto 5 semi-natures at once. Now, see, but there are things sustained. You guys preventing free speech for people. You guys are, everyone. Originally, still, we don't have American history allowed demonstrated. Our founders did not chop down. They had to. That's why George Washington had to leave in Connecticut right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, overt slavery. They had right between New York and Boston here, Connecticut. Had to meet with, even with the French general's help, he could only semi-counter extort that. And with psychology, with the interbranch racketeering, where they're going to hide their life progressions with the area uses of the area together. In other words, they do bad things to people. They need it blamed on other things, others themselves. And they need that to appear that, so they need those, and they self-value, but already has everyone. It's really easy to act because those are already the forced motivations of everyone. In other words, motivations criminally foreign influenced. We have states and areas, we have the sciences, each nature of campus, each identity of campus used criminally from off of it originally and still. All victim predators. Invested in value nature system. An identities of value nature systems that can't defend that and afford discerned the identity that is attached to all answers, to all questions. The identity that is attached to all questions is a science method that uses sequence true, the order to the finite true, the order to the active true, the order to the progressive true, the order to our identity's actual course true, which is this is where and how and why we are a semi-nature. Unceasingly while we are a complete nature, as a quality of diffusion, positive or negative in relationship to one identity of relationship to itself. Distinctly and non-distinctly onto Earth. Earth's difference in relationship to the rest of space nature is one identity of of value progressions, self-generations, identity of relationship to itself. In other words, identity of self-generation. In other words, we're a relationship to an identity's identity of relationship to itself distinctly, because its complete nature of volume is an inherent, is an active, and is a progressive, bonded semi-nature of itself, which is bonded by another semi-nature of itself, bonded by its complete identity. And that is manifest because how one identity not only is attached to all identities of value progression at once, individually grouped and together, but through a semi-nature of itself. And that's how we complete that as a simultaneous nature. All ways, not just vertically and horizontally. Boxings. Lost course returns. Ancient campus Marcius here. It only feels like game. The ancient gaming system, it reveals the fruits and gifts of evolution of science pure, the words of answers true. Always, and not denying exceptions, no. And not denying exception nature. We have, I'm not a doctor, we have recorded psychology involved with all kinds of physical delusions, all kinds of evidence racketeering originally and still. What led us into the World War I? The foundation of psychology modern, what left slavery and exploited slavery, fake sides, fake difference, identities of locations, maintained all roles, blaming the real things of evil only on that. No. And simultaneously missing how at the same time they're blaming the real causes of it on other things other than themselves. We have sequence racketeering roles that reveal in acts that reveal, like, for example, a Mike Roberts and a person who's pigmented skin, already involved with database racketeering from people with the years before that. And I don't know his name, and that's also with Mike Roberts. I barely know him. The only contacts I know him in, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involve racketeering with people now involved with child offenders, a whole bunch of Justice Department, Washington, D.C., intermilitary involved identity racketeering. And they want to talk about stolen valor. They're criminally foreign influence military with psychology, with their roles with body dumping spots, legal and other criminally involved with the child offenders here. Now, they also have recorded uses of types of experts against certain types of crimes used to further that, because this is in the furtherance of criminally used, the branches already crime acts and actors, and actually coordinators individually grouped and together. Crime methods, every individual grouped and together associated with the Wethersfield Police Department. Criminal uses from off its campus and on off it sustained through administration, through lifetimes. Their roles with racketeering on off CCSU, keeping the state police, keeping forensics locations, all recorded, criminally foreign influence through thousands of people, all filtered through the racketeering acts roles of the person they put into my, of the people they involved with the principal sex offenders campus, with other natures of racketeering, again juxtaposed with the sexual ones. Further, with New Britain Superior Court, who have recorded and confessed their Facebook involved with child sex offenders and other natures of crimes with drugs with them, with the Dillon family, and various natures of courts with real estate companies and people they involve with pretending to perceive things, acting things tied to the roles with already evidenced racketeering, crimes with depositions used to pretend things. The judges involved with the child offenders who gave directives to people that they break them, but they're directed to do that too. In other words, on and off CCSU was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. A whole bunch of people enter cities and states, campuses of each age, even UConn, and on and off Trinity College houses and business next to it, like the fire department campus, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with identity racketeering, sequence shifts, stealing, falsified police reports, filming exceptions in the past so they could pretend to perceive things. Like, I have nothing to do with this Zano family and with his cousins, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with interstate racketeering with the Justice Department, Washington, D.C., people criminally foreign influence, and further involved crimes with sex offenders on the list, with other natures of crime rolls, criminal uses of town offices, criminal uses of WFSB, stole my identity, to fake words, fake sequences with other businesses around them, like that, and with the locations. Their roles, criminal uses of DACA, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with vertical and horizontal database racketeering, much worse. And sequence records, when they prevent free speech, and they do real bad things against each age of fact, cheap nature, they make them self-value it, because the motivations, they're making kids need to chase positive wrong. Boxing is strong. Fake branches fall. Build wall. I shouldn't have to beg. They also attach me and others to fake words, fake behavior, fake yelling. No, these are people conforming everyone to roles with their life, with their need. Correlation simple, but just of course. It's long words. They need them gone. These are native pure for everyone. If they're not native pure, they're not valued to anyone. Not nations A through Z. Not people A through Z. Doesn't have to. We don't have to be Native American. It's just that simple. That's science. Paradise is a scientific value. Return. Campus Mercy calls you home. Please learn the timeless way. See, the ancient campuses, they valued internation sciences before they became criminally foreign influenced, because they were still valuing how and why. One identity that is, so we don't have to agree on the name of it. And this is the first lesson of algebraic consciousness regarding value G, God. It is lowercase g / uppercase G. And that as at lowercase g, it is temporary positive, as unceasingly as temporary positive or negative, but not through what we call positive. What we have called positive is criminal insidious nature, which is private, that you can't defend, and the surface of a constitution at the same time. I just remind our founding fathers did not have free speech, and we're not using impressions for science, which science has been doing dishonestly and persuaded to it, preventing mandated law, recorded racketeering uses of the names. I'm not saying their positions are even real, because they, per recorded proofs, that they steal, that they're involved with racketeering with former director of the FBI Robert Luskin, with criminal uses of election spots of each age of fact nature, with the same house / esh that is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated having been facilitated to database, vertical and horizontal database racketeering, mail racketeering clicks, wire crime racketeering clicks that are involved further with his extended family members and people with identity thefts, and people on and off the campuses of each age. It's not just that campus that is further sickly involved. We have foreign and domestic, a whole bunch of people with psychology further on and off the middle school, intermilitary, involved with identity thefts, roles, sequence racketeering roles, Robert Schedule, people associated with Middletown, associated with Phil Cololo, further recorded, confessed, foreign and domestic, military, state police, Weathersfield police, retired and standing, involved with child sex offenders, people on and off Two Rod Highway, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles with locations around Fox Connecticut News and downtown Hartford, locations around WFSB. Now, Mendez police and two Mendez police brothers, Eric Mendez and Janito Mendez, confirmed and also recorded their roles with racketeering, falsified police reports, faking recorded things into databases with judges and with crime acts roles with a whole bunch of other police forms retired and standing with the Wethersfield Police Department, used for all kinds of roles with abuses, crime roles with them with the principal sex offenders campus when they were forcing it, and further. Now these Mendez police with the extended family members of a house in my area, because they also use those extended family members to fake me to locations with them in the past, pretend I knew them when I didn't, who he hung around with, and all exceptions recorded criminally involved with where they're overtly making up things because they're stuck now. WFSB is preventing mandated law. The recorded, confessed, and demonstrated being coached to it. Further interbranch crime acts and methods and actually recorded natures. Crime methods are grouped with the judicial branch and with the executive branch, faking things, for falsifying police reports, faking recorded things into databases. Foreign and domestic military also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with all the confessions and with requests for help to me from another regarding all this. Now they're also being coached, in other words, with areas, because now when I talk, they need to pretend other, and they need to keep coaching people that would only lie because of this. The judicial branch, on off the state judicial branch offices, the preventing mandated law, because they were involved with database racketeering, and way worse when I was in each school I went to. I never had one conversation with Mike Kerr in my life. They recorded. He didn't even go to my high school. In other words, on the campus, I barely know him. This is a person who confessed and recorded and demonstrated, also by and his brother Jerry Kerr, and all kinds of brothers and cousins of a Joe DeMoro, involved with racketeering with a whole bunch of men and women with CCSU, with the intelligence community, involved crimes with election spots with a whole bunch of nations, including Russians, crimes against their own and ours against our own, criminal uses of the delusions and of the racketeering influenced fact-cheating natures and whole crime methods recorded involved with psychology, crime methods interbranch, individually grouped together, all private tied to them, alternatives to going to prison, like they have statutes and precedents, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally foreign influence. This is mandated law's course. This is a use of facts and of truth that cannot offensively pretend not to realize how truths can be used for lies, how exceptions were and are originally and still forsaken. Now let free speech. It's already want to have opinions about what money is worth, what power is, and with things like that. That's why it's important to demonstrate the sequence racketeering rules, natures, needs, and styles, because people associated with such convictions are recorded and involved with recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Private, natures of all campuses, ages of them, roles with racketeering uses of them, that is also already having been, so it already having been uses of each identity of the ground or location, the value of elderly people, the value of their time in relationship to when they want to eat. Not by accident, they have everyone a tortured victim predator role, like the victim, people who help work for the elderly. Those are natures of job, not by accident, reliant upon what can't admit. No science spoke for Hartford, Connecticut, let alone New York City. Distinctly and non-distinctly, they're preventing each leader's voice to be anything but collusion with state scenarios, campuses involved with vertical and horizontal database racketeering. The predicate is value to English, to the identity of the verb, the main verb, which changes. If it's not a main verb, it's no longer. If you put ing on a verb, for example, can't be a main verb. It's no longer a verb. This is identity of value discernment, but that's not positive or negative. That's still only temporary positive. It's the relationship to the not just the sentence. This is values course. I'll drop the force boxings right through fake sides. That's this forces groups, all not just fake sides, but groups forcing the face state self value. Oh, it's back to it's background logistical. This is non-paid advertisement for water. Vaccine, which we're going to have to use to evolve or to stay forsaken each. One must teach. It's all right. People have money. Don't pretend that is expertise with people you don't even know. Don't pretend because you record them, you know what they look up online. They also have like for example, the proper thing to do with people like they have people that are pretending they're investigating things and that they can't understand how they could be criminally foreign influenced with perception originally and still with evidence reception with writing originally and still that's involved with racketeering with a fact cheating nature racket that knows what values we have and need to use, like the identity of the police, like the identity of service people, which is true, that is sacred. But this is simultaneously where truths and where facts are forced uses of racketeering that is the exploitation of exception nature, which is identity nature. We're an identity racketeering trap using each individual grouped and all together. Each modern nation using its identity where its value here, where we're speaking, where all these words are real things that are invisible but still clear. Each value individually, grouped and or together has 2 points of real possession on both sides of it. And that's 5 together, 5 semi-natures. Because that one identity is inseparable from each identity of relationship to itself. And that is what explains the nature between the two smallest things that can be observed physically in physics. I'll show you how we could use this to know how to speak about the algorithm of life properly. Because we have state scenarios, we have databases, relationships to uses of what is positive or negative, uses of what is scientific process, distinctly from what is science. You know, the industry of just because someone's an industry on a science, they use it as an algorithm and they know more about computers. If people don't know about computers at all, doesn't mean they know more about the algorithm. The one where and how we are each, while being a complete identity of value and our individual nature of volume. It is with that filling in as our value, while it is simultaneously as itself distinctly and non-distinctly the value of what is grouped in altogether species, because it's a nature that can only make more of itself by a simultaneous value. And that's why we can't depreciate that value. Leads of Hadith, it'll just force it away. Earth simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space. Proper scientific method reveals it's more practical that we could defend ourselves from asteroids, for example, by valuing the identity of relationship to that the ground has actual to our quality of fact treatment nature, and to what is beyond our quality of fact treatment nature, simultaneously, distinctly, non distinctly, at the same time, not by accident. It's all right to have emotions and passions, and theaters only ever have had voice. It's all right, but it's not all right to offensively pretend that in sustained ways that can't be perceived, and to pretend too they're in the background pretending I don't have social graces. Other people don't have social graces. These are people stacking database racketeering roles. And any exception they can't put it on paper. And or nor not